Alive or dead, you'll still find us cussing. Beep! You have been warned. Content is not suitable for all listeners.
Welcome! You're listening to Bewitched Banter.
I'm Krista, and I believe that people are inherently shitty.
And I'm Amy, and I tend to believe that people are naturally good.
But ironically, I'm a super believer in the supernatural and all things spiritual.
And I'm a total skeptic.
We're best friends, and in this podcast, we're seeking to explore and understand each other's perspectives, with deep dives into the spooky, the spiritual, the magical, and the mystical.
And some straight up spoofs.
Today, we are covering El Zombie.
Hell
Zombies.
Yeah. Zombie. Cheers.
Cheers. We are drinking hardcore water right now because I may or may not keep my apartment at 80 degrees.
Yes, I am sweating my balls off right now. Krista, I thought it was just hot in here, and then Krista told me she has the heat on at 80.
Oops.
So
listen, I don't pay for it. It's in my electric bill and my rent, so this girl likes her some heat, so
let's marinate on that. Yeah, I'm definitely sweating right now, but
you feeling like you're actually marinating?
Yes.
Hey, before we get into it, we need shout out to Peeps that just gave us a review.
Oh yes, honestly, thank you so much. It was Jackson, Cal, and do you remember the other one?
Moron something.
It wasn't moron.
No,
it wasn't a moron.
That was in the name.
That's not a nice thing to call your listeners.
Sorry, I'm sorry out there. You had a funny name that was self-deprecating.
Mega Derp 69.
Okay, Mega Derp. So Derp is traditionally thank you. Mega Derp 69, thank you. Appreciate you.
But yes, you made our day. Thank you. And if you enjoy this episode, or if you've enjoyed episodes in the past, if you can leave us a review, subscribe, anything to help us. It helps us get our name out there a little bit more. And you are helping support two females.
Two
independent women.
Independent females, baby.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, women-owned business.
But yeah, thank you. But let's get into it, right? So
I've been dying to hear about this all week, actually. So let's get
I know. I feel like zombies is a really fun topic. I feel like this will be a fun one.
Listen, I love Walking Dead, or used to before it got whack, but
I did too. I used to watch it. I can't remember when when they shot the mom. That's kind of when I stopped watching it.
Oh, the girl, you missed a lot. I stopped when they brought like Tiger King shit up in there.
Tiger King?
They didn't really bring Tiger King.
I was gonna say,
but they had a tiger. They actually had a tiger. It was
wow.
bizarre.
Okay.
And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Anywho.
But I'm going to start out by talking about everyone's favorite hot topic right now, the CDC. I know we're all pissed off at the CDC right now.
Yeah, we bit.
So
2 years into this bullshit, they still don't have their messaging together.
And I know you know this because you sent this to me, but I just found out through my research that the CDC actually created a contingency plan if there was a zombie outbreak.
Yes, and one of the articles I sent you was written by one of my girls, one of my students, Kylie Schultz. Shout out, girl. I'm effing proud of you. And when I sent Amy the article, I was just so proud. So beaming with mama joy right now. Proud teacher joy.
Yeah, and according to scientists, which I'm going to get into, zombification already exists in nature. So I thought that was really cool.
So I didn't know that part.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about
it
a little bit. Give some examples of how it happens in nature. So it really isn't that outlandish or out of the realm of possibility that something similar could happen to humans.
Ooh.
The CDC outlined a plan, which I would honestly call pretty boring.
I mean,
yeah,
surprise.
But they outlined how they would treat the infection just like they would with COVID. Basically, let me cut to the chase.
They don't do shit, and they have horrible messaging. How about that?
Yes, and I was going to say, you kind of beat me to the punch. We are all fucked if we aren't already.
Yeah.
However, to make things less boring for you guys, they basically told us in the plan, it was like what they did. They said they were going to do with COVID, find the root cause of the infection, and learn how to cure the infection. So really not much to the plan. That's why I'm saying we're all a little screwed.
Yeah, so like what about all the logistics? Of course they don't have that figured out.
No, they're like, we'll address it when it happens.
Oh, great. Great. I feel so confident in our national security measures.
However, though, they did discuss what kind of kit a person should have at home for when zombies are strolling the streets.
Oh, when? Not if. When?
And they suggested that they would build zombie refuge centers, like so people who aren't zombies can obviously, kind of like you see in the movies. See,
yeah, like Walking Dead.
Refuge. Mm-hmm. And then before a person could arrive or hope to arrive, because you don't know if they're going to become a zombie, the zombie emergency kit should actually have the following. 1 gallon of water per person per day. A stockpile of non-perishable food, if anything's left, like we just witnessed during the, going to the grocery store at the beginning of the pandemic. I don't remember there being too much canned stuff available. Medication, tools like utility knives, duct tape, battery-powered radios, sanitation, hygiene equipment, blankets, and a change of clothing for each family member. Important documents such as a passport, birth certificate, driver's license, and first aid supplies to treat basic wounds like cuts and bites that you might get from a zombie. Nothing too different. Probably the same list of things they would tell you to have if there was like a hurricane coming.
This sounds even like a pregnancy go bag almost too.
Yeah.
Like besides the emergency kit, but
yeah. So basically, end of story is we're screwed if zombies happen. And
so little known fact. I don't know if I ever told you this, but me and X, I was trying, because we used to watch Walking Dead together. That was one of our rituals. And after watching that show, when it was good again, I would implore him. I'd be like, look, we need a plan. What if this shit goes down? What are we going to do? We need a meetup plan. This is when I thought I could.
What was your plan?
We never, do you think we got to it?
Oh, so you talked about it, but you never made
Oh, yeah, like babe, we'll do it. One of those situations.
So he's like the CDC.
Yep, exactly. No, but I was dead serious though. I was like, we need a meetup point. We need a bag. Never happened, but
yeah. I mean, I guess the only thing you could really hope to do is like escape to the middle of nowhere. Which Arizona has a lot of land that is not developed, so maybe we aren't in the worst place to be.
Yeah, I think we're decently okay, except for we're in Phoenix, right? I think if we were in Payson or Prescott or on a rant, even Carefree up where your parents. Shit, I'll go to your parents. That's where I'm going. Hey, Vic and Dave,
hey,
coming.
Mom, Dad, I hope you got that pool built by the time we're moving in.
We come in for the zombie apocalypse. But yeah, no, I think here we'd be fucked, especially since people are moving here every day by like the 300s. If not more now. There's that famous scene, to reference it again, Walking Dead, where Rick's on the highway and you can see downtown Atlanta and he's on a horse.
Oh, I remember that.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That would be us here in Phoenix. We'd be fucked.
Yeah. I mean, I think me and you wouldn't survive very long. Let's be real.
Let's be very real. I would die day one. Just in that anxiety.
I thought it was really interesting though, because I didn't know, like I said at the top, zombification is actually happening in nature.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Tell me more about this.
So example 1 is what scientists endearingly refer to as, quote, flying salt shakers of death. Okay, so what are these little bastards?
I'm imagining like a comedy late night swim right now.
Yeah.
A commercial or a stoner show.
Yeah, this is crazy. So there's a fungus that causes cicadas' abdomens and genitals to fall off.
They're everywhere too here.
Mm-hmm.
Ew, stop.
And even though they have no genitals, the male cicada will still try to get it in.
Ew. Well, he's not far off from human men, is he?
Basically like a numbers guy. Like who's the first going to say yes? But they try to mate with everything they encounter before they die. And the fungus that infects them has a similar chemical makeup of hallucinogenic mushrooms. And it's kind of like COVID and is transmitted through spores in the air.
Whoa.
So these cicadas fly around and infect each other while they're trying to mate with everything. And then other cicadas are missing an ass cheek or two. I made myself laugh.
God, you're making me laugh so much today. I'm like going to pee my pants. I can't. Oh my God.
If you see a cicada missing an ass cheek, you know what's going on.
You know they was zombie.
It's a flying salt shaker of death. That's what you can call it. So another example of animals being zombified is chronic wasting disease, but it's often nicknamed zombie deer disease. And at the moment, it only impacts hooved animals such as like elk, moose, and several deer species. But scientists have said it is not impossible for the infection to cross over to humans.
Ew.
So the zombie deer disease causes the animal basically to waste away. They lose a lot of weight quickly, and it eats away at their brain.
Oh.
You can imagine if it's eating away at their brain, they're just brain dead. They're like in a zombie-like state. They're drooling. They're confused. They don't know what's going on.
Sad. Do they know how what it's caused by yet, or?
I don't think so, because I think if they knew what maybe they know the cause of it, but they don't know how to cure it.
Got it.
But there's a whole list of them, and I should post them online because I think that'd be interesting if you want to read through them. There's like 10 different examples of zombification happening in nature. And then my question was kind of when did people start worrying about a zombie apocalypse, right? All signs point towards the fear started actually in ancient Greek civilization.
Huh.
Very similar to our vampire episode. I discussed this at length. Mm-hmm. Archaeologists have discovered ancient graves where their remains are they did this because they thought people were vampires, and they also thought people were zombies. They would weigh them down with rocks or other heavy objects. So they basically like to keep the dead basically in place, right?
Yeah. Oh, God. Or the living dead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awful.
I know we chose zombies because we wanted to do like a lighthearted episode, especially after our serial killers.
Ooh, that one was.
Oh, that Albert.
I think we took a hot minute break actually just on recording. I think because that one wore us out like emotionally.
Yeah. Oh, the part about you talking about the nails in the dick. Hell no.
Ooh, yeah, no.
Unfortunately, this is where this episode and story is going to get a little dark because it always gets
we
that
always
way.
do. That's what we do again here at Bewitched Banter.
Exactly. A lot of our popular culture references of zombies come from Haiti during the 17th and 18th century when the country was ruled by France. So at the time, Haiti was called Saint Domingue, if I'm saying that right.
Mm-hmm.
I discussed...
Como Santo Domingo, which is...
Yeah, what she said.
Yeah.
I discussed this definitely at length. If you are interested in learning more about voodoo, we have a great episode where we cover it. Mm-hmm. And I would definitely recommend going back to that one because I'm just going to kind of highlight it. This was during the time when enslaved people were brought from Africa to work on the sugar plantations, mm-hmm. right? And this was a really tragic time. Like over half of the people who were brought from Africa and who were enslaved ended up dying in a few years because they were worked basically to death out in the fields. Ugh. Instead of the French reconsidering how they were treating these poor people, instead of being like, maybe we shouldn't work them to death, they just went and got new groups of people to bring over from Africa.
Yeah, not surprising. So, sickening.
And in The Atlantic, I think they said it perfectly. They said that American pop culture has whitewashed the origin stories of zombies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly how... Because it's very similar to voodoo.
Yeah.
I know it's separate concepts and religions and culture, but it's very adjacent. And so my heart is starting to beat really fast just reminiscing that episode, mm-hmm. that we did.
Haiti, it is estimated that 80 to 90% of people practice voodoo. And this is something we didn't mention in the voodoo episode, but in that religion, they categorize people's deaths as either being natural or unnatural. Do you know anything about this?
That I don't remember coming across in my research, so school me, baby.
Yes. A natural death would be from sickness, where an unnatural death would be when someone is murdered or an accident causes them to die before their time.
Okay.
And they believe that anyone who dies from an unnatural death has to get approval from the gods to join their ancestors until they get approval, they will remain in their grave. Basically. Wow. And since the soul is in a vulnerable state, kind of what I imagine, in the Christian lens, you'd probably call it purgatory.
Uh-huh.
I know they don't call it that, but that's kind of what I imagine it to be related to. But they believe that it'd be possible for them to be brought back from the dead through magical means by a voodoo priest, which they called bokors or hugan.
Yep.
Haitians also call a bokor a witch doctor. They believe through magic, hypnotism, or a witch doctor will create a secret potion to revive the dead, and the dead will become a zombie, and the witch's doctor's personal slave, basically. And this is my story I'm going to tell on Thursday.
Okay.
Definitely remember this because it has a lot to do with my story. Not all enslaved people who died from being overworked were believed to be zombies. They believe that sometimes the bokor would let certain individuals just rest during this time when they were trying to find approval from the gods to be reunited with their ancestors. Bokors or witch doctors are also known for creating concoctions, right? Like they all have like their family recipe, like you would say. And what they would call as zombie powders, which often would include the following: herbs, shells, fish, bones, and sometimes it even included, which another word I can't pronounce, tetrodotoxin, which is like the deadly neurotoxin found in pufferfish. If too much of the tetrodotoxin was used in the potion, then a person would die, but sometimes they would use a smaller amount that let people have like zombie-like symptoms. They would have breathing issues. They would have a hard time walking, very obviously confused in their state. Also, sometimes it could lead to someone becoming paralyzed or almost like in a coma-like state, and they were believed to be dead and then buried, but then later revive, giving the people like a belief that zombies really do exist.
Coming up out that grave. Oh my God. Terrifying.
Oh, hell no. Oh God, no. Like worst fear.
Is this similar to, I know they did this in the Americas, but like where they had bells to like, and you covered it in Vampires, you and Corey, where like,
yeah, because in a vampire episode, Corey, my husband, he told us about how they used to put bells in their like coffin so they could let people know if they were still alive. Yeah. I don't know if they did that, but that'd be an interesting question.
Yeah, like how, oh my God, that's I gotta add that to the biggest fear list, because no.
Being trapped in a box.
Fuck no.
And you wouldn't be able to breathe because you would imagine all the dirt. You're not going to need much oxygen.
Ugh.
But this belief, obviously, it's not shared by everyone who practices voodoo. A lot of people believe that this is a folktale. The bokor's power of being able to turn someone into a zombie is used as a control method, sometimes as a way to keep people to behave, right?
Yeah.
So very similar to Christianity, like if you don't behave, you will end up in hell. For them, it's like if you don't behave or you're not a morally good person, you might end up being a zombie. But for some people, zombies are a real thing they believe in, and they are very fearful of becoming one themselves. Kind of back to what I was saying earlier, like during that time when the Haitians were under the French rule, it was a common belief that was shared among enslaved people is that when they would die, they would be returned to Africa and live that free life.
Oh, what a vision. Let's pray that they did.
Yeah. Back to the idea of the natural and unnatural life, they believed that if one was to commit suicide, they wouldn't be allowed to return to Africa in their afterlife. Instead, they would become a soulless zombie working on a sugar plantation.
Oh, interesting.
And as sad as it is, several enslaved people still committed suicide during this time.
Yeah, I was going to say, interesting that even given all the enslaved people experienced such debasing and dehumanization, like how they still considered suicide a sin, if you will. You know what I mean? It's just, I never would have thought that they might consider that a sin after maybe experiencing such horrific treatment, you know?
Well, I think a lot of religions view it as a sin, though, right?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't realize that in Voodoo they did, too. That's very interesting to me.
I think that's common. I mean, I might be wrong, but most religions, I feel like Christianity, it's considered a sin, right?
Oh, yeah. Sure is.
But it wasn't until the Haitian Revolution where the enslaved people who worked on the sugar plantations revolted and gained freedom. And they used actually the machetes. I talked about this at length in the Voodoo episode, but they used the machetes they were given to work on the plantations to revolt against the French. And that's really when the perception of zombies changed. It was more common after this that people thought zombies were more a folklore story than a real thing.
Okay.
But before then, it was much more, I would say majority of people believed in zombies. But
interesting.
Yeah, and from what to be honest, this is a shorter episode because it really is, from what I read and I was researching, is because zombies and voodoo, obviously, a lot of people said they were scared to really dig into the subject because they already know with voodoo that it has so many stereotypes that already exist. And they're afraid that by associating zombies with voodoo is going to do even more harm to the religion. So a lot of people don't want to put their name on those articles or the research. So they kind of, it's almost like a topic just not discussed.
Interesting.
Which you kind of talked about in our voodoo episode. There's a lot of like secrecy to the religion. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like not like everyone's invited in. And I kind of almost felt like the zombie, obviously it's a Haitian origination, but it was kind of like an untouched thing. And so a lot of people didn't want to approach the subject because they were just scared of being called racist.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense to me. And actually, I was talking with a fella that I went on a date with. He's Haitian American. He was so surprised to know that I knew so much about voodoo and santeria that I do, being a white woman, and was impressed, frankly. Toot beep beep. No, I excuse me. I just want to say how honored I was and still am to this day that I was even got the smallest, albeit the smallest peek behind the curtain as a white American. Like it's an honor. Like I've never witnessed a ceremony. I've never been formally indoctrinated, but I had my shells read. It's similar to tarot, but using shells, as well as being assigned my saint. And that's a huge effing deal for any Anglo person or American, or frankly, like non-African, Cuban, or, Caribbean person. And I was like, wow. So anyway, I just feel so honored that I was let in a little bit.
It's cool. I wish I knew more about it personally. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, and again, I think we covered this in that episode too. It's all about family. It's all about ancestral worship, and that's what it is. And unfortunately, like you just said so beautifully, like it gets such a bad rap because of the sugarcane plantation incident, and hence here we are with all of our race wars today. You'll be very proud of me. I did do my homework assignment of not listening to true crime every night of the week. I'm very, very proud of myself. And you know what? It did elevate my mood. So you win.
Oh, and also, I'm so glad you brought that up because I did want to talk about that because last episode when we were talking about capital murder, if we believe in it, I remember at one point I was saying I was like, well, why would I want to keep someone alive? Because it takes all our tax dollars, like supporting them in jail. And then I was talking to Corey about it, and he told me actually it costs more money to follow through with
Does it?
The execution because they have so many appeals. And I kind of talked about that in my case with Sean Sellers, that he had about, I think, 10 appeals where he had to go to court.
Got it.
And he said it actually costs it costs so much more tax dollars to have someone executed because of the appeals and how many times they have to go to court and they have to have representation. So actually, financially, it doesn't make sense to do capital murder. But, I mean, I don't know if that changes my opinion, but I thought that was an interesting tidbit I should bring up from last week's episode.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because I was wondering, there's always, people can pull data any way they want to manipulate their story and their narrative, right? But so I was always wondering that side of the fence of like the actual cost per prisoner, which I hate saying that because God knows we need to get rid of this prison for profit bullshit. It's disgusting on another level.
Ooh, I am sweating from your heat.
Oh shit, you need to take a break. You've got to go.
It is hot.
Yo, she's got like glossy cheeks.
I do. Krista has the heat cranking in here.
I think I might be turning her into a zombie.
Yes.
So
we might let you guys go on that note. But tune in on Thursday. Let us know if you want to know more about zombification in nature. Maybe that would be a really fun episode. And we will be telling our stories on Thursday, so make sure you tune in there. I love my story. I'm excited to hear yours too.
Mine's good. It's also a little bit of a shorty, but it's got a little bit more of like the seeking of the why, like the potions and the bokors.
Ooh, I like it.
So yeah, with that, y'all, peace, bewitches, stay cool. Unlike my apartment.
Thanks for listening. Check us out on Instagram or bewitchbanter.com. Suggestions for the show? Emails at bewitchbanter@gmail.com. Credits, Music Phantom Fun by Jonathan Boyle from premiumbeat.com. Podcast edited and produced by Kristen Hinds and Amy Holt. As always, if you enjoyed, please rate, review, and subscribe.